Welcome to Voiced. Today's post is from subreddit Relationships by bsteady632, and it is about a woman's struggle to navigate family expectations as her nephew, now 18, asks to move in with her. How do I tell my family I won't let my nephew, 18-year-old male, move in with me, 32-year-old female? For some context, my older brother is several years older than me. When we were children, our mother was one of those flighty hippie types who was raised rich but spent all her inheritance, then got cut off by my wealthy grandparents. She never learned to manage her money. Every couple of months, my mother would come up with some crazy idea, like moving to Thailand to raise orangutans, or move to Dubai and marry a rich gentleman. We moved around a lot as kids. She's dabbled with minor cults, but thankfully nothing too serious. I think she's just traumatized deeply and trying to cope, and desperate for attention, no matter the type. Anyway, this is only relevant because I wanted to explain. My brother and I have always been close. In many ways, he was my only stability growing up, and there was definitely a lot of codependency there. And some resentment, too. My mother is what people would call a boy mum, always making excuses for him, and this did him no favors. When he was in HS, he dated a girl who got him hooked on drugs. He was talented and very popular, but after that got expelled, lost his prestigious apprenticeship, and he fell into a spiral. He got a girl pregnant. At the time, I believed my mother when she said it was all the GF's fault for trying to baby trap him. It was definitely not all her fault. They were only teenagers and being stupid. Fast forward a few years, I'm just about to start my final year of HS, and my brother is at rock bottom, and his most recent GF just left him. He asks our mother and I to take in his 4-year-old son, which, given what our mother was like, means he was really asking me to raise him. And I did. My mother thankfully let him sleep in her room at night, but during the day, he was my responsibility. I dropped him off at daycare before school, often being late, but my teachers were incredibly tolerant. I honestly have no idea how I graduated at all. I didn't turn up some days until lunch, and some days, not at all. I only had a small group of really close friends who were really understanding. I'd pick up my nephew after school, and we'd all hang out together with the toddler. My peers just ignored all this, which honestly was probably for the best. There was a couple of weird looks because my nephew looked a lot like my ex, but I was so focused on my friends. And my nephew, if there was any bullying, I didn't notice it. I was stressed out, but I was happy. I didn't even go to my graduation dinner because I couldn't find anyone to take care of the baby as my mother was out of town with her boyfriend. At the time, my brother was trying to get his life back together and seeing his son only on the weekends. My nephew used to regularly call me his mom. I always tried to correct him, but he did it so frequently, I don't think he understood I was only his aunt. From the ages of 4 to almost 7, I raised my nephew. I did my university degree, full-time job, and had my nephew. In some ways, this time was the happiest I've ever been, but traumatic. Seeing how my brother's life was destroyed, I decided I wasn't ever going to have kids of my own and will never date anyone with an addiction. When my nephew was almost 7, my brother decided to take him back. He had a new GF who wanted to play happy families. Basically not work, just look after the kid on my brother's dime. I was gutted, but kinda relieved. I was 20, and I wanted to have fun with my friends. Most of them had already left our old hometown by then, and I was getting pretty lonely, only having 1 or 2 left. It was hard. At first, it was good having my quiet existence back, having time to myself, but I missed the baby a lot. And seeing my brother every weekend, too. Now, the most I'd see them is if my brother needed a babysitter, which wasn't very frequently. Fast forward a couple of years again. My brother's GF has found a new sugar daddy and left him. He's devastated. I don't know why, considering he was cheating on her, but by this point, our relationship was pretty strained. He'd stopped trying to get clean and couldn't keep a stable job. He asked me to take my nephew in again. I wasn't sure how long for, but I was willing. I'd noticed before, but now it was really obvious how messed up my nephew was. My nephew didn't seem to know the ex wasn't his biological mother, was very naughty and spoiled. I tried to be understanding, give him stability, but he only ever wanted his dad, would cry and act out and destroy things. It was hard, and I was heartbroken because I couldn't understand where my sweet boy had gone, and trying to support my brother at the same time when my nephew was with his grandmother. When the cheating GF came back, my nephew was picked up, and it all went back to how it was. Me alone, feeling like I was just waiting for my brother and nephew to call, stuck with an emotionally manipulative mother who would do or say anything for attention. I decided to move states not long after. I spoke to my brother maybe a couple times a year, and my nephew only on birthdays or Christmas. He didn't remember me after a few years. My brother, who is on the spectrum, and honestly think has a very reduced ability to feel emotions, says a few concerning things throughout the years. Like my nephew brought a weapon to school and got suspended, steals, lies, and can't be trusted around animals. He wouldn't take him to therapy when I suggested it, didn't seem to think it was an issue. I'm on the spectrum too, and while emotions can be hard, this is something else. My nephew is now 18, and he messages me out of the blue and says he misses me. He wants me to help him pay to move states and to come live with me. I'm in my early 30s, have a retail business, a one-bedroom apartment, and a cat. I work 10 hours a day, have no friends close by, and haven't dated anyone since my late 20s. I have actually just recently started thinking about dating again if I want to find a husband sometime this century. I've hardly spoken to my nephew in years, and I highly doubt he remembers me at all. I haven't even visited since I moved away. My mother and brother think I should let him move in, but I don't want to give up my quiet life again. Honestly, I'm just tired of cleaning up after them and want to be left alone. How do I tell them? Tia, my nephew, 18-year-old male, with issues wants to move in with me, 32-year-old female. How do I tell my family no? Update 1. Thank you to everyone who gave advice and asked how I'm doing. Thank you especially to those who have had similar experiences and the kind people particularly worried for my cat. Be assured I am definitely not taking my nephew in. I will tell him no, but be clear that I am only a phone call away if he wants someone to talk to. A comment suggested my family may want me to take my brother's new baby in, given there's some tension there, and I was in a bit of a panic trying to figure out how I would even look after a baby with my current schedule before I snapped out of it. I like kids, but no, I don't want to raise this one only for them to be taken away again. If they insist, I'll ask they test paternity, which will create its own chaos, but it's better to know. I mentioned in a comment, I'm not sure if my eldest nephew is my brother's. He looks nothing like anyone on our side of the family, but by the time the biological mother left, we were all attached to the baby, so I don't think it matters. I think it would break my brother and my nephew if it was negative, though. I will update again if something changes. Now I just need to tell them. Thank you all for your support and reassuring me that I am doing the right thing. Update 2. You were right. When I stated I don't have the space for him here, my brother said I should move back home? So the boys aren't separated, and my youngest nephew doesn't grow up not knowing his older brother. He has been insisting for years that I should come home for Christmas and birthdays, but I work every day but Sundays and Christmas, so I haven't been back since I moved states. I am so confused. It's like he is using my nephew as a lure. Wow, what an incredibly complex and emotional situation this poster is navigating. It's heartbreaking to think about the roller coaster life experiences they've had, especially having to take on the responsibility of raising their nephew at such a young age. Honestly, it sounds like they've done an admirable job of trying to maintain their own life while caring for others, which is no small feat. The decision to not let their nephew move in seems to stem from a very understandable need to prioritize their own mental and emotional well-being, and that's something we should all strive for. Family obligations can weigh heavily, especially in scenarios where past experiences haven't been the best. It isn't just about saying no, it's about putting boundaries in place that protect their own peace. What do you all think about this situation? Should family ties always take precedence over personal comfort, or is it okay to prioritize self-care? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for listening to today's episode of Voiced. If you enjoyed daily high-quality stories, please like and subscribe to show your support.